refer to ourselves by what we have done, as opposed to just being and just allowing us. So this continuous opportunity to celebrate, to reflect, and to support each other, to congratulate each other, is, rather than just keep achieving, is a really essential part of working well together. So, okay. Are there any questions about either sociocracy or dragon dreaming or community living in general? Is there anything you want me to cover? I mean, for example, what are some of the most, for those, especially those who are living in community or working together, what are some of the worst things that you experience when living together, when working together, when trying to do things with other people? What's some of the most difficult aspects of working together? So I see a question: do you combine them or choose one of them? I'm not quite sure what that question is referring to.
I think the techniques you're bringing in, I suppose.
So do sociocracy and dragon dreaming merge together? If that's the question, then they can do. They certainly do complement each other quite well. In fact, when I start any sociocratic process, I use the dragon dreaming process for sure, 100%. And then many things such as such as the kind of song lines and the kind of understanding, where their passions are and what have you, and how to move together. You can, from dragon dreaming, you can very, very, very easily bring that into sociocracy as well. So remember, at the end of the day, a tool is just a tool. At the end of the day, you want to be a community that lives together, and you need to find the tools that work for you. A tool is just there to support you, and the tool is not the, that's not the kind of what's the right term? That's not the objective. The objective is you living together, and the tools are there just to support you. So if you need to tweak and adjust each tool a little bit, that's actually great. If you can figure out how to adjust them to make them safe and to make them really much richer for you, which could include, as say, combining things, then absolutely, why not?
Yeah, there's an interesting question also from Paul White. What were some of the largest community projects failures you went through, and what did you learn as a takeaway? That's a funny one. I always hear you learning things, so maybe you have a juicy one for us.
So some of the largest. So I used to teach eco-village design education courses, and in Denmark, the great thing there is that it really, the government and actually supports communities to live together. There's all kinds of different tax breaks and various things that actually support communities and so on, unlike many other countries. And so you see lots and lots and lots of examples, and you see, communities that have been, and we normally would take people to see communities from, that are literally just forming to having been for 30, 40 years. And what you see, especially with the older ones, is that their original dream, their original vision was really, really clear. For example, one community, which is about 30 years old, or probably 40 years old by now, I haven't been there for quite some time, they formed around a very particular spiritual guru, so Danish equivalent of Steiner. And they were really, really clear, this, we want to live in this particular way according to this person's spiritual teachings. And what they found is within 10 years, there were so many people attracted to that community, but barely 10% even knew anything about the spiritual leader's actual vision. And they were attracted not because of the spiritual teachings, but just because it was a community that really was somehow beautiful and very, very attractive for them to live in. You know, where they could get land, where they could get a house, where they could grow their own food, where they could set up their own little mini cooperative projects, and so on and so forth. So, so while they had this initial vision, they eventually had to kind of just totally dismantle that and completely restart again in order to, because, you know, almost no one was living up to that anymore. And actually, if I think about it, many of the projects that I see really struggle because they just don't have the tools to actually be able to support each other. And some of the biggest projects I've seen turn around are the ones who have adopted tools such as sociocracy. So once, you know, so because quite often when people come to a project, they come imagining that other people who have joined this project have the same vision. And so yeah, but as the project starts to progress and as things start to really get going, people realize, you know, so when people are answering a question, because people have different end goals, they want to go actually in very different directions. What they, you know, so for one person, that's not appropriate, whereas for someone else, that is completely appropriate because that's the direction they want to go in. So there's this conflict, there's this tension, and they can't make those decisions. And so until you have a really clear common vision, you're always going to have tension in your projects. And so I remember working with one particular project where when I got there, out of 18 people, only 4 people were actually talking to each other. They'd been together, I don't know, something like 10 years, and there was so much conflict in that project that most people just wouldn't speak together. And so we ran a series of sociocracy courses and various other things there. And by the end of it, I think something like a good 10, 14 of them were starting to talk to each other and they could communicate. And now what you find is they've actually set up a little cooperative and they're really working well together because of, and I remember very clearly there was one particular issue that they had that was really dividing the project, that was really a big source of tension and had really split many people. And all the solutions they've tried in the past just failed because everyone had a different end goal. And so I started the process of a Sociocratic decision-making process. So we started off by creating a common vision of what we all wanted to achieve. I then started a Sociocratic proposal forming exercise, which is basically everyone asks questions that if we answer these questions should help us to find a solution. So I know that sounds a bit strange, but it really works beautifully. So everyone asked questions and then we consented. Is everyone okay with these questions? Can we finish that process? And then I left it to them to start answering it. And then I left it to them to then find a solution based on that. They then created a solution. And within, 4 or 5 years of continuous arguments and continuous tension, within 2-3 weeks, not only had they found a solution, but they'd actually built and completed the solution. And this totally changed everything around. It totally changed their project because now it was basically to build a bridge between one part of the land and another part of the land, which basically when the waters rose in the winter meant that many people were completely cut off from the main roads and everything. So I guess, yeah, I guess some of the biggest things are really seeing how without a common vision, it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible to actually solve problems. But once you're really clear on what you want to achieve together, then everything becomes easy. Yeah.
Thank you.
So just looking at some of the other questions. How about online communities? How to celebrate when you're not physically together? So obviously, you know, celebrating together, it depends on your definition of celebration, obviously, first of all, you know, so part of celebration is also reflection and understanding as well as congratulations, and enjoying, you know, celebrating what you've achieved. But you know, everything in similar way that you would do it face to face, you can still have online circles where everyone has an opportunity to express themselves. Everyone has an opportunity to say, you know, what's really going well for them. You know, typically I have a set of 4 questions which I use for reflection, which is about, you know, what's going well, what went well, what would you do differently, what is your vision, and what are your next steps. So very, very quickly, you can get an understanding of, you know, in the project, what are the things that have really gone well. So we've established that it's already gone well. And then, you know, because there's always room for improvement. So what would you do differently is an invitation to say, what are the areas we could improve? And then where would you like to see this improvement? You know, what's your vision? And then what's the first thing you can do to help make that change? And so very quickly, just in 4 questions, you've kind of reflected, you've celebrated, you know, all the things that have done really well. You found out, well, what could we do that's even better? And we've got some tangible steps that we can take to actually move forward. So this touches on the full spectrum of celebration, not just the congratulations and that set part of the celebration, but also the feedback for how we can move forward. So the most difficult thing is celebrating differences. Usually differences create clash instead. So again, that's down to attitudes. That's down to, you know, if people are very dogmatic and very stuck in their way of thinking, and believe that only they are right, and their way is the only way, then yes, it's going to create clash. However, if you're going to, for me personally, for me to live in a community of people, there's a few things for me that's really important. One, the most important thing is people's ability to self-reflect. So what we can recognize is that everyone is amazing. Everyone is a beautiful human being and a beautiful soul, but none of us are perfect. We are all going to mess up at some point. It's how we respond to messing up is the key. So from both sides. So the person who messed up, they're no, I was fine. No, I didn't do anything wrong. And then of course, you know, nothing's going to change. Whereas if you can self-reflect and say, oh yeah, I'm really sorry. I see what I've done there. I sincerely apologize for what I've done there. Let me have a think about how I can, you know, and to start at least acknowledging that you have made a mistake, first thing. And then how other people respond to you is equally important. And if they, oh, you're a bad person, you must, we must kill you, we must kick you out. If you know, if everyone is so dogmatic that you make one little slip and bang, you're enemy number one, then clearly, you know, you're never going to have a community. Whereas if people can say, look, I recognize that you're human, we love you, and we recognize that you've made a mistake, you've recognized you've made a mistake, let's work this through, let's see how we can avoid making this happen again, then we can move together, then we can move forward. But if if either party stays really, dogmatic and really struck, hard, and then nothing will change. So for me, that's the most important part about community, is people's flexibility and their ability to self-reflect and learn and grow. So that's, for me, is the most important thing.
Yeah, thank you. There's another special question.
Yep, go on.
If you would like, Paul asked another question, if you may, and he said thank you for replying on the first one. Is there something you are currently exploring in your spiritual relationship with the earth? For example, at the moment, I'm exploring how I relate to the wind here in the different seasons and the kind of energy it brings, how we respond to it physically and emotionally, etc., etc. Right now, it's 80 kilometers an hour. So it's an open question if something occurs in your mind.
I guess everyone has a different. So I run a course which I call a holistic life design course, and basically I use a particular tantric tool which looks at mental, physical, and spiritual balance. And the first thing we need to do, everyone knows what physical is, everyone can understand what mental is, but everyone has a very different interpretation of spiritual. So the first thing we need to do is define what we mean by spiritual. And to keep it non-dogmatic and to keep it open and accessible to all, very often the definition we come to is your connection to the outside world and your relationship to the outside world. So yeah, your physical is obviously your physical entity, your physical tangible body. The mental is, your thoughts and your feelings, etc., which, verges on physical as well. But then anything that is external to you, is how we define spiritual. So pretty much everything I do has some kind of spiritual resonance. So if I can't say there's anything specific that that jumps to mind in terms of, let me read the question again. Currently exploring in your spiritual relationship with Earth. I mean, ever since I was 4 years old, I've had a spiritual relationship with Earth. So, just as a 4-year-old, we were lucky to have a back garden, a small back garden, but, a garden full of butterflies and spiders and, watching caterpillars, go into cocoons and turn into, I was like, wow. Like as a 4-year-old and watching this, and having my first cucumber plant given by my mother and watching this thing start to grow and and then wow, cucumbers and just this connection to, but why? What's how? Wow, and just this absolute excitement. And if I'm honest, at 53 years old, I'm still like that. I'm still, I still go out and I still find little things. And anyone who goes on a wild food walk with me knows that, oh my, wow, look at this. And, because life is that exciting for me. So I have that complete wonderment and awe of everything that is everything in this world. And, so whether it's different peoples, different plants, different animals, different fungi, different whatever, everything. And so for me to say one thing, I'm exploring one thing, I can't imagine that. I can't imagine ever narrowing my thoughts down one particular avenue. Is there something interesting that I found very recently? I guess, I'm kind of happy with this Berberis, which is a particular type of Berberis darwinii, which I collected and dried, and they're not particularly the tastiest thing on earth. But then I fermented it with as a second ferment of my kombucha, and wow, fantastic! And this is pure medicine. This is pure medicine. I woke up. I say I had a fever for, I think, since it started Wednesday night, and certainly by Thursday I was full on fever. Thursday, Friday, what's today? Saturday or Sunday? However many days.
Saturday.
I've lost a few days. Anyway, so a few days in this full on fever, and again, the wonderment of my garden and all the medicines. And I don't eat onions and garlic and things, but in a situation like this where I need medicine, went straight to my garden, dug up some of these perennial onions, and bang, just blasts everything out. And so I woke up this morning with kidney pains because of all the extra stress that my body, as it's trying to cleanse itself, is putting on the kidneys. And this berberis, fantastic. Now couldn't even tell that I had kidney pains, which I had this morning. So just the wonderment of nature, just the wonderment of all the healing plants out there. And I collected goji berries as well, and that's another really great cure for colds and fevers and things. Again, straight from the garden, and yeah, stuff like that. So I guess, yeah, that's what I'm really fascinated by, is just the relationship between plants and humans and their healing properties.
Thank you so much, Rakesh. It's very vivid. I know your kitchen with all the dried things, it's like a laboratory of the nature. And I'm like, how does he use that? And what's that for? But you know it, and it's a lot of wisdom. So thank you so much. And I would actually, as a wrap up, and also as a home, just to acknowledge you, do it in a way that it's celebrating. And I would ask everybody to put in the chat something, what you have as a takeaway from today, what you really thought, this is what I needed to hear today. And it can be just a few words, it doesn't have to be a lot. And we even could do it, well, that's a lot, but we could open it also for 3 minutes, and then I asked somebody to shut it down after that, and just shout out what you're grateful for, what you needed to know, and what you learned today. So you can open up your thing.
We were really thinking to do that as a closing thing for tonight.
Oh, I take away. Oh, sorry, I take away your.
You already said it, and that's fine. So
then you take over.
Yeah, and it's wonderful how you said it. So it would be really nice if everyone can express something that really they felt they can take with them, and they feel nurtured by today's presentations.
Okay, so while people are typing away, maybe I can just kind of wrap up my thoughts. And basically, to live in community is not straightforward. It's not easy, simply because we just do not have the skills, the tools to actually live together. We don't have the skills to listen to each other and adapt to each other. Once we learn those skills, then it becomes really so much more beautiful. It still isn't easy, but it all of a sudden becomes much more beautiful. So the key takeaway is to learn to listen, to learn to self-reflect, to understand yourself and understand what you're doing well, what you're not doing so well, and be adjustable and be adaptable, and to be joyful and to love and respect all differences, because that's what makes this world such a beautiful place. So I think that's my closing sentiments.
Beautiful. So Madhavi, are you there?
I'm here, and anyway, I want to thank everybody for this wonderful day. It has been quite a trip around the world almost, you know, getting goodies from different countries. It's been very inspirational. And for me, it was my first day of being MC, and I was very nervous about it, but I've actually enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So,
can you open your thing? Can you open your video?
just a moment. Oh, sorry, I'm off here. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Just a moment. Yeah, okay. Just a moment. To gallery, so I
It
can
would
see
be nice
myself.
if everyone does that, actually, as
Yeah,
many people
actually.
as possible. If you can open your video, it would be really lovely.
Yes. So, Raja, I leave it up to you now.
I just want, first of all, to thank you so much and the whole team, because really you worked so incredibly. You worked so much, you know, I cannot even believe to put this whole together. So it has been really a lovely day today with such a diversity of interventions and everyone really interesting. So yeah, it would be really nice to follow up on what Yolanda said before. What is it that really touched our heart or mind? And what is it that we take with us from today?
Who wants to be the first?
Oh, there's a lot communicated already.
Okay.
I really was touched by what Rakesh said just now at the end, when you say that you are now at 53, whatever, you still feel like a child and you still have the same experiences, especially when you are in nature and you are in contact with the land. And it's so true, because this is exactly what I felt really opened my heart and mind, living in a different way on the land, which I'm still doing now here in Verona. This is actually the picture where I'm living now. And it's really this that it's bringing me to the child within, the joy, and really to be able to enjoy things and always in a new way. Every day there is something new. And particularly in this period, I feel like a free butterfly or a free bird. And I'm really enjoying this freedom, and I'm really enjoying to be on these mountains and with amazing people all around. Thank you. Chandrika,
Maybe
you
I
always
can
have
say something quickly.
Great.
If I can just say something quickly. What I wrote down in the chat was about the importance of celebration and celebrating the small steps that a community or a collective achieve together. And it actually raised a question in my mind about Conscious Earth Alliance, and that we probably need to start thinking about the celebrating part rather than just the working part.
But this is the celebrative part at the end of every day. It's really
I hope it's the beginning. Anyway, yeah, it's good to be reminded that celebration is so important. Yeah.
Chandrika, you always like to say something.
What's up? I put it already in the chat. What I learned most from today is...
It's okay to be different. We need all the qualities to make it together. Right. Beautiful. Thank you. Great. Vasudeva, you want to say something? You've been here the whole day.
I could say that. I could say that I really enjoyed Rakesh's presentation. I wish I could say more, but it's not words, and it's kind of difficult to translate everything into words and into things in the head. It's not really the kind of I'd rather dance what I what I want to say rather than put it into words. So it's one of the limitations of this environment, that we have to translate everything into cerebral stuff. So, but the great part is that we can still somehow send messages which are not just words, and which are not just digits, numbers, and not just digital stuff. So I'm very happy. Thanks.
Yeah, great. Anyone else, please?
I would like to just introduce myself and share and thank you. I've walked this road now for 10 years, and I actually founded an eco-village in South Africa. Also a permaculture practitioner and a natural architect and landscape. But yes, it's the Dragon Dreaming was part of our EDE through Gaia. So we are really take cognizance of that and the sociocracy. Yeah, it's really kind of, it's been wonderful to be a part of this, and look back on the trials and tribulations, because it's always a journey. And the big failure in most villages is the human dynamic. And I think the more you bring about this kind of work and transformation in self-realization, and then sharing from the heart, it's been wonderful to feel the hearts of these people, and it's been really beautiful. So I would like to thank you for that.
Great, thank you for your taking part. Jivan Deva, you want to say something? Just maybe one or two more people.
Oh, just that I enjoyed it. Thank you. It's we have a lot of work to do, and it's so wonderful to have people expressing it with such heart and realistic, touching on all the factors, not only the external practical things, but also the internal subtle aspects of our beings. Yeah, thank you all. Thanks.
Thank you. And Mahashveta, would you like to say something? If you're there. And if not, Valerie, you can be the last one.
It's hard to reflect. It was so intense, and we had a few. We worked hard to set it up. I was a bit worried with all the technicality, but we worked it out very well, and I think we could be proud of ourselves. So let's celebrate. Thank you very much.
Very nice. If we would be together, I would love to have a hand in hands and make a big circle and do a woo together. So we can imagine that.
I agree. Let's we can make it.
Yeah.
All right.
But if you look in the chat, it's so rich. And thank you all for sharing. There's so much what people have as a takeaway. So I feel in the middle of a celebration.
I want to say something. I want to really thank Yogamaya for your wonderful, your wonderful presentation as a MC. You did just beautifully, and I hope you keep joining us, and being one of the MCs during our seminars, our conferences.
Well, it's a promise, and the team. I know the team was small and really hard working. Almost, I thought, my gosh. So if anybody feels like I like this and I like to contribute, please communicate it. For it takes a lot, and I didn't do so much. I just jumped in at the last moments. But I know Fikishini and Madhavi and Dadaravi, I think amazing.
And Kalyan, yeah. Kalyan is.
And Kalyan, of course, he's always the silent techniques.
Yeah. Kalyan is behind everything.
And Ratan and Amar also, because they started it all, and we were a bit worried with so much topics, but at the end we are exploring new ways of working, like individual sessions and shared panels, which in the end is not so hard. We learn, we improve ourselves all the time.
There's a question from Joke Oosterbeek. Is it possible to hear back about permaculture?
I already answered.
Oh, okay.
And I said everything is recorded.
Okay,
okay.
Great.
So would you like to finish here, or you want me to briefly say what's happening tomorrow?
Please tell about what's happening tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. So tomorrow we will start at 10 a.m. and the first speaker will be Helena Norberg-Hodge from Australia, from Barambay. She's quite famous, actually. She's a successful organizer and speaker on self-reliance, cooperative, and regenerative communities. And tomorrow the topic is Local Future, Reclaiming Our Humanity and Regenerating Our Earth. And the second session will be Anthony Fernandez from Brazil. He's one of the organizers of Conscious Earth Alliance. And Anthony's presentation will cover planning and development, agroforestry, bioconstruction, and temporary dwellings. Then there will be a panel of bioarchitects with Joanne Schlosser and Dan Winter on biologic architecture science and its application. And after that, a second panel together with Alosha Linov on integrating bioarchitectural small budget dwelling in natural environments. There will be also, it will be followed by a health session with quite a few people on herbal medicine, homeopathy, and allopathic emergency kit. Then there will be Satish Kumar, which will speak on how to create a new kind of education with respect to the integrity of the natural world. And then a last panel tomorrow at the end with a very interesting topic, the subtle and spiritual dimension of living in community on the land. And I think this will be an extremely interesting topic with Didi Ananda Usha from USA, Blue Eagle, a Canadian Métis shaman, and Ravi Shikar. And hopefully we will end tomorrow with a meditation as well, all together.
Okay.
So
thank you, Radha.
Thank you, everyone.
Everybody.
And we will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Thank you, Dada. Dada Ravi. Or bye-bye, everyone.
Thank also Vasudev helped us also.
Oh yes, Vasudev.
Yes.
And Govinda also.
Govinda. Govinda.
Namaskar, everyone. Namaskar.
Yeah, bye-bye. Sleep well.
Namaskar.
नैना लगा के मैं पछताई नैना लगा के मैं पछताई नैना लगा के मैं पछताई आजा बालम ओ हर जाई आजा बालम ओ हर जाई
आजा बालम दूं मैं दुहाई आजा बालम दूं मैं दुहाई
नैना लगाए मैं पछताई
Sagabadari namagari gababa mabagari sagari dasa
नैना लगाए मैं पछताई निस दिन याद सताए
निस दिन याद सताए
तेरे बिना अब जिया न जाए
तेरे बिना अब जिया न जाए
हाय ये कैसी प्रीत लगाई
हाय कैसी प्रीत लगाई
नैना लगाई मैं पछताई नैना लगाई मैं पछताई
सपनों में भी तुमको पुकारूं
सपनों में भी तुमको पुकारूं
लाख जतन करूं बंद निहारूं
लाख जतन करूं बंद निहारूं
आज सनम काहे देर लगाई
आजा सनम काहे देर लगाई
नैना लगाए मैं पछताई नैना लगाए मैं पछताई
प्यार हमें तो रास न आया
प्यार हमें तो रास न आया
प्यार हमें तो रास न आया दिलबर मेरा पास न आया नैनों की बत्तियां समझ न आई
नैनों की बत्तियां समझ न आई
नैना लगाई के मैं पछताई रे
नैना लगाई के मैं पछताई
आजा बालन ओ हर जाई आजा बालन ओ हर जाई नैना लगाई के
मैं पछताई नैना लगाई के मैं पछताई नैना लगाई के मैं पछताई
Namaskar, everyone, and see you tomorrow.